All right, is this working? I think so. Well, I will find out if anyone happens to be watching. Hello, world. So, for anybody who happens to be watching this later on, I'm taking pictures of glass that I have in my house so that I can pack it away into boxes or otherwise distribute it around my house so I have more space. I'm gonna just carry on with what I'm doing, and if anyone happens to say hello and be watching me, I will gladly answer questions and generally talk to you. Hi, I'm Katie. I'm a glassblower and a patchwork artist, and I am attempting to show the internet parts of what I do because I am stuck at home, and while I don't get bored, I do get a little bit lonely. So you can all be my imaginary friends. Ah, it looks like somebody is watching me. I think. A couple of people. Okay, let's see. Don't know who you are, but hi! Oh, hi! Hi, Heather. So this is one of the first pieces I made. Since I know there's someone watching, I will show you. So this is one of my first projects. It's a little blown glass lamp that has a steel feather as the base for it. So this was one of my first projects that I actually got to design myself and wasn't just learn this technique. The little glass piece comes out. So, and the feather is like that. I really like working with glass and steel together, and while in first year I did my metalwork myself, I now work with a lovely... hi Kelsey! Hi, I miss you. Yeah, again, taking pictures of a little glass lamp. I know I can't hear y'all, but if you leave me comments or questions, I will gladly talk to you because I am alone in Farnham, taking pictures of my work because I have no excuse not to now. Most of the things that a lot of the things I'm taking pictures of will end up going in boxes, but this one is going to sit off to the side because it's going to go upstairs and sit near my couch for a while because it's been in a box for quite some time. I'm just going to show you that again and then set it off to the side. My kitchen table has become my photo studio. These are some pieces I've already taken pictures of but are out because they're part of my main project I'm doing, which is taking quilt patterns and putting them in the bottom of glass pieces. So these are, just set that there. Got a few color tests and shape tests I've been making to have these nice patterns in them. And ultimately, they'll have patterns like patchwork like this, either under them or behind them, kind of like that, draping down as really long banners, kind of playing with the patterns being inside the glass. And that's what, now that I have gotten all of my little lamps sorted and put into a box, I can start unwrapping stuff that nobody's really seen yet. Hello! It's nice to know that people are still around in the world. All right, give me one moment. So, because the university campus is closed right now, and we don't know when they'll let us back in the workshops, I've had to bring all of my glass home, mainly for my own peace of mind because I wanted to be able to take pictures of it with the patchwork and just in general because I have a lot of get your website and things together assignments to do right now. But that means I have lots of glass to unwrap and take photos of. So. And you'll have to tell me if this is even working at all, because I'm not entirely sure if it is. First time trying out Facebook stuff. So, the thing is, I don't even know what's in some of these. It's another one of my color tests. So this is another piece that I've made out at Adam Aronson's studio near Horsley, where I actually work on the weekends usually. Right now the studio is closed. Yay! Hi, Christy! So yes, a shiny thing, and you can see some of the pattern in the bottom of it. So that one I need to take a picture of. It's nice to know that there are people here. I don't know how interesting hanging out with me while I take photos of things will be for all of you, but since I don't get to show things to people very often yet, it's kind of nice. Hi! Yeah, I wish I'd have thought to do this yesterday, because I've already put most of my stuff into the 2 giant boxes that are next to my table. But as it is, and I can also show you with this piece, it's actually made from the same setup of little crushed glass color as this one. So they're kind of relatives. This one was made first, that's why the pattern's nicer on it. So now you can go over to the side. I'm going to have lots of packing paper that I need to move around. Someday I will have to get some good video footage of me working in the studio so y'all can see how I make these things, because I do enjoy them. This is one of my earlier ones. Learning to make the shape like this, where it's a big round body and then it pulls up into a narrow neck, has actually been a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. But hello, additional people who are watching. Again, if you're bored, you can hang out with me while I am unwrapping my glass and taking pictures of it. So this is one of the first attempts I made at doing kind of bottle shapes with the glass. This one has just a mix of blues and greens in it. You can see the nice thick bit of color on the bottom, and it's got sort of a bottle shape. I really like the shapes of the ancient perfume bottles and things, so that's what I've been making a lot of my pieces to look like, or at least trying to. I'm set up in my kitchen right now because there's a nice window here and there's actually a little bit of a skylight up there, so I can get good lighting on these, even though I am far away from the nice studio setup we have on campus. I suppose the nice thing about streaming is that I can talk to myself and I'm not actually talking to myself. So if anyone who is watching has questions or anything you'd like me to talk about, please let me know, because this is my first time doing this and I have little to no idea what I'm doing. You need to stay out so you can go back here with the other things. Yeah, I do not know how long I will be streaming for right now, but I know that the next time I am actually sewing some of my patchwork, I will be trying to do this again and see if anyone wants to watch me with my sewing machine. Hello, additional people. Okay, this is one that is more recent, and it's one I'm really proud of. So it's the same sort of pattern and color on the bottom, but it's actually an open sort of a bowl form. Hold that up to camera so you can hopefully see it. You can see the bubble down inside. It has kind of a reflection like right over here. Again, any questions or comments, please feel free. Cheyenne, hi! Hello, sister. I see that you have joined this. I hope that it entertains you. Again, this is a similar pattern to these pieces because I basically have a steel tile that I leave little piles of what looks like sanding sugar, but is actually Frit. And Cheyenne, the next time I am actually allowed access to a glassblowing studio, I will get on that. You should have a box in the mail to you, unless my mother has not actually managed to get it mailed, that has something that I made for you, but I don't know if it's ever going to get there. In any case, though, I am working out ways of making drinking glasses. I actually have a few around my house that I use that I've made. Let's see if I can find one. Yeah. These are the sort of ones that I've learned to make. And yes, check your mail. Or send someone to get the mail for you, perhaps, if you have someone to do that. But yeah, so these are the kinds of tumblers that I've been taught to make out of the studio. And I actually use this one. But right now, all of the pieces that I've been making for my project are more not really functional objects. So let's see, what's the next thing I need to take out of the basket? All right, so the fun thing is, I do not remember what is in each and every one of these little packages from when I wrap them up, so get to find out with me which pieces I have. Oops, not lots of foam there, kind of where. Yeah, so this is another one of my early attempts at making a bottle form. And it's a little bit off at the top. You can see where it cracked a little bit when I was making it, but it survived. So this has just some random colors and patterns on it. And a few bubbles. And then down at the bottom, you can really see the pattern. So I've got that one. You can really see how, this is one of my most recent ones. You can really see how much better I've gotten at making this shape, because my early ones are all over the place. So yeah, I've just got a piece of white patchwork taped to the table in the wall to make myself a little baby infinity table, because I desperately need photos of all of this so that I can put them on my website and Instagram and all that good stuff, because I'm actually getting graded on my social media presence at the end of the next couple of weeks. One of the joys of being in university. Running out of places to set things over there. There we go. All right, it's one bag empty. Here we go. So here we get to all the things that I set up. Hi, Jack. When I was getting everything out from my shelves and things on campus. I need to take some tape off the bottom of this, and then I'll show it to you. So this is one of my pieces from the first half of my project last year. So it is, I'm gonna move the camera for a second. It is huge and kind of heavy, but it's one of the nicer big pieces that I made. And this is part of my whole project with picking up tiles that have patchwork patterns in them. In glassblowing, we call the pattern tiles like this Marini. And putting them onto a thing. You can see on the bottom there where it's still sharp. That's because I haven't finished cold working this one, but eventually I'll grind the little tiny sharp off of that. Hi, Denise. So yeah, this is one that has a few patchwork patterns in it. The patterns are all made by swirling colors into the glass. And as you can see, it's nice and hefty. So last term, my project was all about just getting the patterns to work. So the Marini technique, if you've ever seen Millefiori glass or the Venetian glass that has all of the tiny little patterns in it, that is one of the things I really love about glass as a thing. And so my whole project has been using that technique of making all the little tiles that have patterns in them to make quilt patterns. So I'm kind of bridging between all of the stuff that those of you who knew me at McMurray remember that I spent all of my history degree researching. So taking all of this patchwork and turning it into a liquid in the bottom of little perfume bottles like it's being transported places. So yeah, that's, and why I had to go and choose Marini, I don't know quite why I did this to myself, because it is a technique that takes forever to prepare things. Once I can get to them, I'll show you some of my Marini in progress. But it takes forever to prepare things, and then when I'm making a piece like this, all of the tiles have to be laid out on what we call a pastorelli, which is basically a flat piece of ceramic shelf on the end of what looks kind of like a pitchfork that an assistant, or in the case of a lot of these pieces, the technician from the university, has to preheat for me while I'm setting up the bubble that then the pieces get picked up on. Give me a second to take a picture of this and I'll show you one of the other ones where you can really see the patterns better. That's better. So yeah, there's that one, and that needs to go over here. This is one that I've already photographed, but I can show it to you. This has two different kinds of those tiles on it, but you can really see the individual tiles on part of it. So this was trying to get a bit more of the pattern in a larger scale. Thank you! So this one was a test that I did of picking up on a glass bubble a combination of the swirled pieces here. Let me see if I can angle it right. So this has swirled color into clear glass, and these are just solid colored glass. So this one was a test to see how that would behave, and it turns out the swirled ones, because they have a lot of the clear glass in them, don't move very much. The clear ones, on the other hand, want to move a lot. So, yeah. So next one I've got in here, again, I'm not entirely sure what all of these things are as I'm unwrapping them, because I was kind of flustered on Tuesday last week when I was packing everything. But I think I know what this one is. And I don't know if she's in the chat right now, but yeah, I know exactly what this piece is. So I did a collaborative project last year with one of the blacksmiths in my course. Her name is Beth. She is absolutely lovely. And we did a project where she made metal ruffles, and then I would drop glass bubbles into them and blow them out, and we'd make pieces with it. So this, so the movement let me set this down for a second. So to answer your question, Shine, the movement is because glass is weird, and different colors of glass are softer or harder than other bits. So where is it? There's the box. So the solid colored glass, which starts like this, is softer than the clear glass that we use in the studio on campus. And that means that when this gets hot, it gets hot faster and it stays hot longer. Then some colors will stay hot longer. Different colors have different rates of expansion and contraction and temperatures at which they are happy. So this will move a lot faster, and because it's in relatively thick pieces on the Marini, it'll kind of say, oh, this piece, this part of it is softer than this part, or hotter, which means when I then blow air into it, the part that is softer moves more. Yeah, so again, I don't know what color this is. I think it's blue. I have a lot of mystery color in a box here. Anyway, so this piece is one of those collaborative pieces. Hi, Hannah. And it has a steel ruffle that Beth made that is welded together. And then we dropped a hot bubble of glass into this and blew it out a bit. And then it has been opened up and pulled just a little bit at the top to make this kind of ballerina looking thing. You can see at the bottom there's kind of a little mark, and that's from where we transferred it from the blowing iron to the finishing iron so that we could touch the end of it. But this is probably my favorite piece out of that collaboration so far, aside from the giant red one, which is already upstairs, so I will have to show that to y'all on a different day. But when Beth and I are working together, we usually end up with some very interesting sorts of things. Of course, these are not the best pictures in the world. This black piece is going to have reflections of me in my kitchen all over it. But for right now, it's more just documenting that it was made then. Hi, Beth! Beth, look, look, look. You will be receiving pictures of this soon, I promise. As soon as I download everything. Yeah, I already took the big red one upstairs, or I would show it off for everybody. But yeah, it's so nice. And it's actually not that wobbly considering that I haven't ground the bottom yet. Because it does need to be flattened just a little bit. But for now, it's nice and stable, and it will sit upstairs somewhere until I can take it back to campus and finish it. Yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to say hi to people and show everyone off. And Beth and John, who are commenting in the stream on the side there where all of you can see it, are my classmates. Well, John was one of my classmates, but he escaped. But that's a good way of describing it, I'd say. Anyway, so I'm going to set this down and get the next thing out because I have to get all of these out and sorted out. I am talking to myself, but people can hear me, so it doesn't count as me being crazy. Yeah, the bottom box underneath this big box is full of all of the things that Beth and I made last year. They took up an entire giant box because we are industrious. And hello, additional people. To be honest, I wasn't expecting so many people to be actually interested in watching me unpack my glass, but I will gladly try to entertain you. More than that, I need to do this anyway. Oh, okay, so this is one of my big ones from last year. So this is another one with the solid color Marini on it. This has several different patterns put on. And for those of you at McMurray, Alakumba, look at the colors I ended up picking for this. But this has some different little motifs in it, and the idea was to have a full pattern inside, and you can see the inside layer. Oh, I miss you too. So the inside layer, this has more of a clear, crisp pattern. Yes, I know, I want to do more of this at some point. Not this term, because this term, it's all primary colors. But eventually. So I'm just gonna take a few pictures of this guy. This is probably the biggest and heaviest thing I made for the project last term. My new ones this term are not this big, but they are heavier. You'll see in a bit. Definitely not as nice as the digitization unit setup for lighting, but it's working. If I remember right, this is one that has a layer of clear glass over the Marini tiles. So the pattern's fully encased, where on one like this one, it's not fully encased with clear glass. So there's more of a texture on this than there is on this one. Where's my next bag of glass? Aha! There it is. So these are some of my actual pieces for my project. Yes, there are lots of nice crinkly ASMR sound effect things going on. But there we go. So this is one of my pieces that I've made for my actual project that's more recent. So this is a piece of solid color that ended up being black again. And this is sort of the effect that I'm going for, where the pattern or color is on the bottom of the piece and it looks kind of like it's a liquid. And there's a little bit of camera reflection on that, but you can kind of see that nice thick bottom where it's suspending the color. For a test piece, it's actually turned out quite nice. But yeah, all of my test pieces came home. Thank you. But hey, they want us to document what we've been up to, so here I am documenting. And I need to remember to clean the bottoms of these before I put them on the white fabric that I'm using. When I was still in the process of polishing the bottoms of these, so they've got a layer of black Sharpie on them, and I just discovered that that will probably rub off onto my nice white piece of fabric I'm using as background, so one moment. There we go. There we go. That should work. Anyway, where was I? Ah, yeah, taking pictures of this. Hello. And I don't know if this is actually interesting to anyone or not, but it makes me feel less lonely. So eventually, once I get finished taking pictures of everything, all of my current pieces are probably going to be sitting on this table while I work on my patchwork and things, because that is a major part of the project as well. One moment. Let's put it under the table. An unwrapping video. Here we go. So this is one of the big, hefty, clear test pieces that I've made. You can see how it has a really thick bottom, so you can see the reflections in the bubble. Oh, yes, please, Cheyenne. Once I am back in Houston, in the States, I will gladly go with you. Wood-fired furnace or something like that, or because that is awesome. Anyway, so this, once I clean the bottom of it, have to get all the black marker off before I do this. When we're polishing pieces, we use the black marker to show us whether we've finished polishing it to a certain grit or not. And since I was in the middle of that process on a lot of these, they still have the marker on the bottom. Anyway, so the idea with these clear ones, both is that they were practice for me making things. And I don't know how well it'll show up on the camera, but so I've got my patchwork here and there. So you see how the patchwork is right here. Ooh, that does sound fun. So you can see here how the patchwork is kind of projected upwards into the bubble. That's what I'm trying to do with my actual pieces with the patterns in the bottom of them, is make it look like this. Granted, they also project everything else in the room and show very much the fact that none of these are perfectly straight or on center. A little bit, yeah, it's projecting all of this back here as well. It's kind of funky. But the other thing, eventually I will be bringing one of my big patchwork banners down to take pictures. You can also kind of see how it distorts the pattern when it's held behind it. So, lots of interesting stuff going on there. That definitely needs to stay out. There's a lot of glass underneath my table. So this is a color test sample that my friend Irina... Oh, okay. So my friend Irina made this for me for some frit that she got. Hello! So that just needs to go somewhere safe. And for right now, it's going to sit over here with my plants. You cannot see them from this angle, but I have plants. Oh, you can see some of them. See? Plants. Anyway, I'm just going to continue unwrapping and showing y'all my glass. Okay, so this should be one of my pieces from my actual project. I can tell because it weighs about 4 pounds. At least it feels like it does. Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, so this is what I'm going for. So this has the pattern in the bottom. Oh, need to clean that so you can actually see it, but there's a pattern in the bottom. And the pattern's actually there in this one. And this one is probably one of the nicest shaped ones I've made, with the exception of the two that are still in the studio on campus because I made them the day before we shut down. And they were too hot to take out of the annealing kilns, so they're still sitting in there, and I will see them hopefully in a month or so. Hopefully. Well, I'm going to clean the bottom of this. Just taking all the black marker off so that it does not mark up my table that I'm using. So I hope all of you are having a relatively non-boring day. I am spicing my day up by hanging out with you. All right, so now that it's clear on the, mostly clear on the bottom, you can kind of see, once it's polished, you'll be able to see more of that. But this is kind of the idea that the pattern is below the bubble, and the bubble kind of projects the pattern up a bit, and the whole thing has this nice, heavy perfume bottle shape. I'm just going to keep taking pictures, because the light does not stay for very long here. It gets dark very quickly once it decides to get dark. Well, hey, coffee and glass. Yeah, up at the studio that I work at on the weekends, we have tea set up nearby. Like, there's just a kettle and tea on a table right there next to the studio because caffeine and generally just liquids. We get so dehydrated doing this kind of stuff. But yeah, if anyone has questions about how glass works, I will do my best to answer them, even though I can't really show you anything right now. But someday. It is. It is like I'm here. But it's actually really been nice weather the last week or so. It's been bright sunshine. Everyone's been in their houses unable to really enjoy the bright sunshine, but there's been bright sunshine. Hi, Amanda. Just gonna set that out of the way. My house is full of glass. Let's see, what's this? I have a lot of cleaning to do on this one. So this is just a tall vase that I made last term that has some ribbing in it. Made these so that I can eventually put dye down in the bottom and dip fabric in it and take pictures of it as it travels upwards. But yeah. And also right now I'm using them to sort patchwork. Once I get them clean. This is what happens when you don't cold work things regularly. Yeah, surprisingly, that's kind of what's been going on here. It was trying to decide if it wanted to snow yesterday, but so far it's deciding to just be cold, somewhat sunny, and occasionally windy. Not that anyone really has to worry about the weather too much because we're all hopefully indoors in our houses, away from other people. Once again, taking black marker off of things. I wasn't kidding when I said I brought everything home from the studio. Because I did. Took forever to pack it all up, but there we go. Anyway, so you can kind of see this has been put into a mold that gives it vertical ribs. And it makes really nice optical effects. It's not my best work, but for something I made at the beginning of last year, well, last term. So still last year, but not January or anything like that. I'm sure you understand. See, originally when I started doing the patchwork glass project, I thought, oh, I'll be picking up the pattern and making glass cylinders. So the ribbing you get using what we call an optic mold. So it's kind of a cup shaped like this, but it has all these little vertical pointy ribs inside it. And it's made out of brass or bronze or steel or something that has that pattern in. So you take your hot molten bubble or gather of glass and you dip it into that. It's also called a dip mold sometimes. And that presses the ribs in. And then depending on how much you mess with it after that, you'll either still have distinct ribs or you'll have more subtle ones like this has. So yeah, that's how ribbing works. There's a lot of other things that can be done to get that ribbed effect. And like with most of the clear pieces, this is also getting a picture on the patchwork. Also, hello, additional people who may or may not still be watching. There are some of my pieces like this that are clear that I'm actually leaving out rather than packing into the boxes. Hi, Phoebe! I figured out a way to socialize! Sort of. I'm talking to myself, but people can hear me. Yes, so we use molds can be used for a lot of things. So like a lot of the glassware that you see out in the world, like bottles or a lot of wine glasses, etc., are actually made with a mold. So it'll be either a cast metal mold or it'll be a plaster or a wooden mold. And with those, you can then take your glass bubble. So if you imagine a bubble on the end of a stick, and you drop it in there and you can blow into it, and as it expands, it takes on the form of the inside of that mold. And that helps you to get shapes that you can't necessarily get by blowing alone. So something like this, I could theoretically make a mold for this, but because of the kind of shape it is, it's not the best way to do it. Whereas, let's see, do I still have one about? Give me a second. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just gonna grab one of these so you can see it. So this is one I actually packed earlier, but it's the best example of something blown in a mold that I can show you. So this was blown into a plaster mold that I had made that had all of these facets on it. So that I start off with a shape like this, which as I'm cleaning eventually I'll probably find it. Yes, I got bored, Amanda, and therefore I am talking to people about glass. So this was blown into a plaster mold, and it's not the best example of that, but you can see the sharp angles like this are a lot harder to get in glass this thin by just sculpting it while you're working. So for something like this, yes, I know it looks kind of like a light bulb, you would then make a mold for it, which is what I did. And then this one has a trail that's been put around the rim of it, has little bits of gold flakes in it. Don't know how well you can see it. I did a whole project that was blowing into a mold and taking the mold blown pieces and then doing something to the rims after they were taken off the blowing iron. This is one of those. Unfortunately, the rest of them are already in my box. Personally, I do prefer making things just free blown, so like this, because it's a lot less fussy than spending a week making plaster molds for a project. Because plaster is fun, but it is messy and it takes forever and it's dusty. But you can get good results from it if that's the sort of thing you want. Put that back in my nice little storage box here. Where was I? Ah, yes. Getting the next thing out of paper. So, is that it? Yes, that is an empty bag. Yeah, I can't actually finish cleaning the rest of my kitchen until I get all of the glass put away or moved out of the way. So that's why I'm doing this in part. Let's see. So this is one that the technician at the university helped me with when I was first figuring out how to make shapes like this. So it's just got a simple pulled neck, but it's more the bottom that he was showing me how to make. So yeah, there's that one. Need to just take a picture of it. Don't have to be as thorough on this one. But shiny blue glass. In case anyone wasn't here when I explained it, I have to clean the Sharpie off the bottoms of all of these pieces before I take photos of them, because a lot of them were still in progress being polished and ground. And we put black Sharpie on things while we're grinding it to make sure that we've actually ground things to the right amount. So since nothing was actually finished, and I was still working on them, they all still have black marker all over their bottoms. Which unfortunately transfers to my nice white fabric when I put it on them. All right, that is not working very well, but let's see. Hopefully that's clean enough. Try it over here. Yeah, that's clean. So yeah, just taking pictures of glass again. Feel free to chat to me. I will answer questions or talk to you. Because what's that? Yeah, this was also a color test because again, I'm using the bright primary colors. So I was trying to find glass that was in the right colors that I could then match my fabric when I dyed my fabric to. Upstairs in my workroom, I have more of my stuff, meaning all of my fabric that I've dyed to match things. Because of course, those of you who know me very well know that I can never pick a simple project. I am dyeing all of the fabric myself, so all the colors here are ones that I put into the fabric myself. Because it's fun. Gives me something to do. Right. Yeah, it's a pretty blue. It's such a pretty blue. I mean, I have actively found a blue that's that same color to use in the blue parts of my patterns, like in this. But that's a nice one. Here we go. This is the bag that has most of the glass in it. I'm basically just going to keep doing this and talking to y'all until I run out of sunlight to take pictures by, which around here is not necessarily going to be that long. So let's see what we got in this package. So this is another one of the just clear cylinders that I made. And these were intended for basically test pieces originally so that I could try making, let's see if I can do this. Because originally, last term when I was thinking this up, I was thinking, oh, I'll make just the straight cylinders of the pattern. That would be cool. So something like that. But then as I was working with things, that didn't end up being the direction the project went. So now I just have these nice cylinders that I'm going to eventually use for some dye experiments and for taking photos of them displacing the colors. I know I'm probably repeating myself somewhere here, but do tell me if that's annoying. I do hope you are all finding nice ways to entertain yourself while you are, hopefully, at home, being safe. I'm kind of no stranger to amusing myself being and not really having much contact with the outside world. I mean, I was homeschooled without a decent internet connection for most of my life. So, kind of business as usual for me, but I do miss being able to go out to the studio and talk to people in person. I really need to go through and actually wash these cylinders. A lot of them still have glass dust at the bottom of them. So these were originally just a bubble and then they got cut at the top. And that's actually how mold blown pieces usually are. You blow into a mold for making something like a wine glass or different things, and then it's cut off at the top and ground to be the right type of rim. Just because when you're doing a production line kind of thing, that's a lot of times easier than putting it on the end of the stick, open it up, all that. Again, those of you who are watching, you're going to have to tell me whether this is something you're interested in seeing me do more of in the future, because I don't mind, and when I'm doing my patchwork and sewing, I can easily set up next to my sewing machine, which is much quieter than the average sewing machine because it does not use electricity. But yeah, again, the reflections. Yeah, I'm glad you do. I'm really glad you do, because I'm kind of talking to the aether here, but okay. For those of you who are still here, this is one of my favorite test pieces that I've made. I know which one it is because it's got a foot on it and nothing else does. Possibly. So this is a lot prettier than I expected to be, because it was originally a piece of mystery color that I didn't know what it was, because most transparent colors look black when they're in that rod form. And when I got this out, it had done this, which is actually something you try to avoid with this particular color, but oh my goodness, it's so pretty and I love it so much. Yeah, I don't know precisely what happened with this. Probably I overheated the bit of color before I put the clear onto it. But yeah, this is all one. So with this one, it was a piece of solid color like this that I picked up on the end of the iron and then put clear glass over. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing it. It'll mostly be me just talking about things, but I like the idea of doing stuff like this because, you know, hopefully people like seeing the things that I make. So this one also shows you how I make them. So when I make some of these pieces, the ultimate goal is to have it like this, where it has a small bottom. And with this one, you can see it still has its foot on it, which is just a little bit of glass I put on at the bottom so that when they're in the kiln to anneal and cool down, they don't tip over and get marked up on the side. But anyway, I just love the sunset color in this. It just makes me so happy. Well, I hope this is relaxing. Yeah, basically we have a unit that's called Practice Portfolio. And for that we have to have our website put together and have links to our social media for them, and basically have our business cards made, have our 5-year plan, all that good stuff. So that's part of why I'm actually trying to use my social media instead of ignoring it like I normally do. But yeah, so hopefully if I do stuff like this relatively regularly for a while, I'll get used to it, and maybe people actually want to listen to a semi-amateur student talk about glass. Oh, it's still black on the bottom. How much of this video is me cleaning off Sharpie? I don't know, but it's probably considerable. Okay, that's better. See, this is kind of what I'm talking about as to why we do this. So you can see how there's a haze of black, oh, there's the camera, left on this, even though I've cleaned off the surface. So that, when we're grinding things, tells us that this needs to be ground more so that it's all at the uniform surface. This one was almost ready to polish, but has not been. So yeah. Anyway, taking photos of this lovely thing. I still love this piece. It's one of those I am basically keeping probably for a very long time because the colors just make me so happy. And the shape's not too bad for one of these. If this is the kind of shapes I'm going for with my final pieces, it's just I have trouble making them because they get so heavy. And when you're working with hot glass, especially heavy hot glass, gravity is both friend and enemy. But anyway, so there's that one. And now for another piece of glass. I should probably see if I can make this a little bit more this way. There we go. That's better. I'm actually surprised this is working so well. So this is the next piece that I brought back from the studio. Oh, this is a nice one. So this is one of the nicest ones that has the pattern actually down in the bottom of it. You can see the nice shape. And in this one, you can really see how that bubble is reflecting. Let's see if I can line this up. So the bubble's kind of above the pattern and reflecting it. And making it look like there's even more pattern inside, or like it's a liquid that's moving. So yeah, really happy with this one. And need to clean it off a bit. Hi, Morgan. Hi, Finn. Oh, goodness, y'all must be bored if you're watching me now. Anyway, shiny thing. Just gonna take a few photos of this and then continue unwrapping things that I wrapped up and brought home from the studios. Hi, Finn. If we're ever doing a live stream of one of our D&D games, I think this might actually work. Just set my computer up on the stairs, angled down to observe all the chaos. But anyway, I'm pleased that this is actually working because it's making me feel like I'm not entirely alone in my house. This is also where I see if I've actually ground these level. When I've cut them off their feet, a lot of times I have to be very careful how I grind them and polish them, because otherwise they end up being like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and it's not good. Hi! So yeah, I'm just gonna keep taking... Yes, exactly that. Surprisingly, the phrase alone together is one that I remember from when I was taking sociology at McMurray, because we had this book that's entitled Alone Together that we had to read, and it's actually about social media and Furbies, of all things. And it's actually a really good book. I can't remember the name of the author, but if you ever find it, it's under that title. And the fun thing with that is that my professor had never encountered a Furby before. So in order to educate him as to what the book was talking about, that the 4 students in the room knew was, because there weren't that many of us there, we brought my Furby in, because I still had one, because child of the 90s and all that, and we made him take it home overnight. So he had to babysit my Furby for a night, and it drove his dogs crazy. But anyway, so yeah, glad I can entertain y'all. One last look at the shiny thing. Again, you can really see the bubble in this one, and that's what I'm going for, is this nice projection of the bubble. And since my entire purpose in life is to bring shiny, beautiful things around to make people feel better about the world, then this is a good start. Also, I re-dyed my hair today because my purple had disappeared and I need the purple. Well, no, he was actually curious. He had never met a Furby before, and mine had always behaved well. I mean, I think I had the least demonic Furby in the world because all it ever wanted to do was sleep. Let's see. Not entirely sure what this is, but oh, I know what this is now. So, like I said, I hadn't taken a lot of my... This is one of the ones I actually got polished. I hadn't taken my test pieces and things from last term home yet. Hi, Matt. So this is one of the pieces I made at the beginning of my patchwork project, and this is what I was wanting to do, but ended up not being really physically possible with the way our kilns and studio are set up. So this is essentially a glass quilt draped over or set into an object. In this case, it's kind of a paperweight thing. I'm going to move the camera out of the way there. So the paperweight bit has a little bit of scum bubbles inside it. But the whole idea with this is that it would be that movement of something like it's draping over. I'm still working on the book. That is on my list of things to do after I finish my schoolwork right this week. So I have several book projects in the work. Just have not finished any of them because I ended up coming to glassblowing school by accident. But I will gladly start doing this more often if y'all want to see this, because I really do enjoy showing people what I'm making and talking about glass. But anyway, so this one has the Moranian cane that you can kind of see where it's stuck to the tile when we were preheating it and squishing all of this together. But this side has really nice fire polish texture and kind of a magic carpet look to it. And of course, shiny. See, this is what polished is supposed to look like. And I do want to return to this kind of pieces eventually. It's just with the way that the studio is set up on campus, we don't have really the right kind of kiln or a big enough one for me to lay out stuff like this and then do them. So I'm just gonna take a bunch of pictures of this. I have not taken pictures of it yet, even though I made it last term. I will deal with those pings later. And yes, for those of you who've seen me taking pictures of stuff before, it still takes me forever and I take pictures of everything. Yay. See, that's how it was meant to be originally displayed, where it looks like the quilt is draping down off of it. Again, I will come back to this eventually. Just not here, because it would have taken way too much time and effort for the scope of the project I'm doing. For a glorified paperweight, I do love this thing, even if it's not what I ended up picking for the full project. Actually, you need it to go over there as well. Bye, Phoebe. So yeah, I'm gonna be here for a while longer taking pictures and things, so as long as there are people interested in watching, I'll just keep talking to the camera and unwrapping things. Again, I'm not entirely sure what this is, although I have an idea. Oh yes! This is one of my favorite little clear test pieces. For those of you who are still watching, have this one. So again, this was a different kind of a rim on it. Just have a little bit of Sharpie to clean off the bottom of that. So yeah, this is one of the ones that my professors have seen quite a bit because it's the one I was trying to explain to them the whole pattern displacement bit. And eventually I will be posting these photos that I'm taking for people to see what I'm doing with stuff. And eventually I will be getting my big sheet of patchwork down and draping it from down over the table and taking some photos of different pieces on that as well. But one thing at a time, you know? And yes, all of this is an exercise in productive procrastination because I don't want to work on the essay that I need to write. Another one comes out of the bottom. So because my house is on several flights of stairs, when I first brought all this home, it originally was in a big box that a friend of mine was kind enough to put in his car to drive here. But in order to get all the glass out of the box and up the stairs, I had to move it into bags to carry it because it was just too heavy. Because all of the pieces I'm making this term have nice thick bottoms, which means they are incredibly heavy. All right, so here's the yellow one. This is one of my early color test pieces. As you can see, it's a bit rounder at the bottom. I do like these. And I really like this shade of yellow. And of course, the way it changes colors. So it's one of those that the thinner it is, the tone of the color changes. And I really have to clean some Sharpie off this. Yeah, I really am fond of how this one came out with the color, and the shape of it's really nice. And this is one of the first ones I made, and then somehow after I made the first few, they just kept not taking the shape I wanted. So I've had to go back and relearn how to make them. Just have to keep getting all of the marker off of it so it doesn't turn my infinity table purple. So yeah, there's that again. Yay, it's actually photographing nice. Of course, these photographs are going to have a big black smudge on one side because I had a bit of a ding I needed to repair on one side of it, but it's okay. And then patchwork, see how that distorts. That's actually kind of pretty. I think what I find interesting with these ones where they're displacing the pattern is that it's not reflected in this part of the glass, it's reflected on the bottom of the bubble. See what's inside this one. Ah yes, this is another one I'm really proud of. So this is another one with that purple and white pattern in it. Again, you can't really see through the bottom because it's not polished and has Sharpie all over it, but this is another one that has the swirled Marini left over from my pieces last term in it. Actually, let me clean this off a bit. The rag I'm using has turned fully purple. This was white earlier. So yeah, there's that one. And actually, this one is made with the same Marini as this one, which is the same as these. So this one is cut from the same patterns that these two came from, which is fun. And that's hopefully the sort of pattern symmetry you're going to see in my final pieces when I get to make them. Someday I will get to make my final pieces. I don't know when it'll be, but it's gonna happen. Take a picture of these two together first. Hi again, Jack. So with some of these, I've actually expanded the bubble more than with others, so there's not as much of that reflection. They get rounder that way, but they don't show as much reflections in them. Here we go. Okay, so this is about the weight of a nice big size flat sack of flour. My pieces I'm making this term are quite heavy, even if they're not very big. And I'm really happy. This is one of the ones that I made with my first round of tests. So this is the clear one. And you can see how, I can't remember how heavy this is, but I know it's at least 3 pounds. Feels like 3 pounds. So this is a big version of that. It doesn't have as much of the exaggerated stem. It's more avocado shaped than bottle shaped. You can kind of see the similarity. This is what happens when I don't pull the neck correctly and it has to be cut off. But yeah, it's a nice big thing. Just gonna clean this up. I'm so close to polishing this. Again, if anyone has any questions or things they want me to talk about, do let me know, because I'm kind of just talking to the air right now. Probably could actually ground that one down a little bit more. That big clear thing. Now, hopefully this will work. There we go. So you can see it now. The bubble is actually pulling the pattern up into it. It's really exciting that it's working. And that's why I brought all these home, so that I can take pictures of them and use them in all of my website stuff. And this is what I'm doing and what I would have done if I had had access to the studio's paperwork. Part of what's going on with our course since the whole world situation has kept us from being in the workshops is that they're planning on making it so that our major projects can potentially be graded based on what we had planned to do and all the development work we did. Thus, I need lots of pictures. That's why I just like having pictures of my work. Someday, though, I want to make a bigger one of these, but oh my goodness, I'm going to have help. Because this is the maximum amount of glass that I can use at one time safely by myself with no assistance. I think I actually had help on this one, but that was earlier on the term, and I've gotten a little bit stronger since then. Glass blowing. It's like yoga and weightlifting in a sauna, but you get pretty things at the end of it. surprised how nice the lighting is. It looks like the sun's starting to set. I know you can't really see out the window, but we have nice gray clouds, and then there's sunlight because it's hitting from a weird angle underneath the clouds now. So, again, as long as people are interested in seeing what I'm doing, I will gladly continue talking to you. Here we go. This is another earlier one that I did. Earlier on the term when I was still playing with things. The top on this one didn't end up working, so I've cut it and ground it down. But it has a bit of brown in the bottom of it, and it's just generally a nice little pear-shaped thing. And once again, marker I need to clean off. I'm really, really hoping that I have to carry everything back to campus to finish cold working it, because that means that campus will be open again, which would be a good thing. I have a feeling there's some of these pieces I'm just going to carry around for years, and slowly, years from now, I will get them cold worked one at a time, because I'll be distracted with other things that I'm making, and just, yeah. Thanks, Morgan. I'm glad you could join me, and I hope this was entertaining for you. Again, this is what I was going to be doing today anyway. Just wasn't originally going to have people watching me, but I don't mind being watched. It does help if I take the lens cap off. See, it looks like it's saying that 2 of you are still watching me. I'm not sure who you are exactly, but hi. This is the other one that I made early on in the year that the stem broke, so I've ground it at an angle. Eventually the purpley part here will be polished. Ah, okay. Hi, Finn. So yeah, this is one that I've ground to an angle because the stem broke, and eventually this will be polished so you'll be able to see through it. Don't know how much of the purple I'll be able to clean off, just because, you know, I was polishing this before. This one, once I do finally get it polished, is going to have to get another photo taken of it, but just for documentation's sake. maybe I might end up wrapping this one back up because I don't know if the microphone will pick it up, but you can kind of see how sharp this one is on the edge. And I really don't want that to get chipped, so it's probably going to sit over here for now where it'll be safe. Off camera. Much glass. Ta-da! This one has a lot of that purple and white patterning in it. Again, this is one of the first ones I made, and you can see the bubble inside. It has an interesting shape. Let's see. If I'm going to do this stuff, I have to get used to how the camera works and where it is. You can see the bubbles actually squashed on angles from where the pattern was pressed onto it. I'm glad you like it. I'm actually really pleased with this one as well. The stem didn't end up being as long as I wanted it to be because while we were working with it, it flopped over and stuck to itself and had to be cut off. But, oh my goodness, I love this bubble. So when I put the pieces of color on, they start off as a flat sheet and have to be rolled up and pressed onto the sides. So that actually deformed this bubble. And that's why it actually has corners, and the reflections are so nice inside it. It's not perfect, but I love this thing. I'm almost to the bottom of my bag. Soon I will have no excuse but to work on my written stuff that I need to get done. Oh well. My camera doesn't know what to focus on. Yeah, I'm just gonna show that to y'all one more time. Again, I just love the bubble in this, and you can actually sort of see the corners in it, because the bubble does in fact have corners, which I wasn't expecting, but is so cool. Also heavy. Alright, so this one is a clear test I made of flattening the shape. So, flat. Need to clean that. Originally, these clear ones were just going to be test pieces, but in the event that I don't get to make some of my test pieces, they may end up becoming part of my final display, which I'd be okay with. I have made one like this that's been flattened, but it's still sitting at the studio that I work at on the weekends. Because I didn't manage to grind the bottom of it, so I didn't bring it home last week, so it's gonna sit there for however long the studio is closed due to the world being crazy. So now, I actually haven't tested a lot of these with the fabric yet, but let's see. Ooh, that's nice. It looks better from down here, but hello. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep taking pictures of things. Which is going to give me an idea of what these shapes will look like once I put patterns into them when I get to go back in the studio and make them again. Alright, so you get to come down here. There is so much glass underneath my kitchen table right now, it is ridiculous. There we go. So, next thing that needs to be unwrapped. Oh goodness, I just saw I have an additional box here that I forgot that I had. Two boxes. I probably will be doing this again tomorrow because I know the light's going to go away relatively soon. This is another clear test piece for the forms that I'm making. It's taken me a lot of practice to be able to pull this off without something going wrong, and that's where my clear ones are from. But the clear ones are also nice for getting reflections in the bubbles. Let's see if I can hold it up. That sort of effect there. So if I end up doing this tomorrow, if anybody's interested, I will probably do it around the same time because that's when the light is best. Assuming we have light tomorrow, because British weather you can never be too sure of. It's kind of like West Texas weather. It has a mind of its own and will do the exact opposite of what you want it to. Granted, my only concern with the weather right now is it sunny or is it not sunny? Because I'm taking photographs through my window. Because I'm not exactly leaving my house very often right now, if at all. I think the last time I was outside my house was Tuesday when I carried all of this glass up the stairs. So my hands are turning purple. It's not from dyeing my hair, it's from cleaning the Sharpie off the bottom of all these pieces. Joy. Hopefully that'll go away when I wash them. Oh, you can see the reflection. So yeah, that's what I'm going for with these. A little bit of that crystal ball sort of effect. You can tell because you can almost see outside now, whereas earlier it was just bright. All right, next thing in here. This is one of my heavy pieces, which means it's from more recent. Gotta love the sounds of newspaper as it uncrinkles. Oh yeah, okay, so this is one of my favorite test pieces that I've made for this project, and this is really the sort of effect that I'm going for in the final ones, where the pattern is at a bottom layer and looks like kind of like a liquid, but then you also have this nice bubble that's suspended above it. Anybody who follows me on Instagram, you probably have already seen, you've potentially already seen a picture that I took of this bubble reflecting. Okay, there's the sun again. But you can see how that's making it look like I'm just gonna move, like the pattern is projected upwards. And I think that's just really, really cool. Hi, Sarah. Shiny things. It's kind of nice. It at least tells me who's joining in. Don't know how long you stay, but I do get to see when you show up. This is just literally me sitting here taking photos of my glass and talking to whoever happens to listen. I don't mind. It's fun. All right, see the cool thing with this piece, and I don't know if you can see it, there's a little bit of a light shine that can project from the top down into the bubble, and you actually see the shadow, the little light beam on the inside of the pattern at the bottom. Again, I'm not sure if I can hold it to the camera in exactly the right angle to show that off, but it's really cool. This is a heavy one. That means it's probably, I think this is one from last term. Yeah. So this is actually one of the first ones that I made picking up the pattern last term. Oh, still has its label on the bottom from submission. So anyway, so this one is a traditional Marini roll-up, and it has the pattern all the way around the inside of it, and then has glass on the outside of it. So there's still actually a lot of texture on the inside. This is one of the first ones that worked, and I'm really still happy with it. It's also still sharp on the bottom because I did not get a chance to finish cold working it last term. Eventually I will get this thing cold worked. I need to pick that up because it's very sharp on the bottom. Last one for today, I think. Because oh goodness, I just looked at the little clock here and it says that I have been talking to the air and showing my glass pieces to whomever will look for almost 2 hours. So I think I'm going to stop after this one, and especially because the light's starting to go, and get some food. And I will do this again tomorrow, actually, I think, and show everyone the other 2 boxes of glass that are still sitting in my kitchen waiting to be shown. So if anyone is actually interested in seeing that, one more to show you first, for those of you who are still watching. Still another one of my favorite ones. This is one of the first bottle shapes that I ever made, and it is with a Marini pickup. And I absolutely love this pattern. It's a log cabin, and this actually has a little bit of a special kind of glass color called lime aventurine in it. Aventurine glass has tiny little flecks of copper in it, so it sparkles in the sunlight. And I don't know if you can see the sparkles through this camera, but trust me, they're really pretty. Let's see if I hold it up here. That grittiness that's in that green bit right there is the aventurine, and that's what sparkles. And there we go. See the sparkle? Yes, it is already glass, so it's still shiny, but anyway, so there's that one, and it's got a log cabin pattern, and that's actually what I've been making a lot of my Marini in with the solid color for my project this term, is the same pattern but with more distinct colors and not swirled together. I know, I really love this one. I actually had made a whole bunch of the Marini for this one because they came from one big bar. So I have quite a few pieces that you'll see eventually that have this same pattern in it. So for example, this is one tile from the same set. And that's part of what I really like about the technique I'm using, is that I can get a lot of things that match, and I just have to make the patterns once. This one is also really thick and heavy. I probably could have blown it out quite a bit more, but I do like heavy glass. So yeah, there's the pretty thing once again. You can even, and this one, the pattern does go all the way through because the pattern was picked up as the bubble in a sheet first and then gathered over with clear glass. You can kind of see a little bit of sparkle there. So that's why it has this nice, perfect place where they meet at the bottom. And I really do like this technique. This is what a lot of the Venetian Marini work is done in, is a similar style to this. But for what I'm doing with my pieces, this is not the full version of the technique that I'm using right now. Because picking things up on the end of a bubble is fun, and I get an interesting result, and it takes less time, which is important. And also, oh my goodness, my hand is purple. I'm going to set that down. But yeah, so I am going to sign off and go wash all the purple off of my hand from cleaning Sharpie. Sharpie. It has a purple base. It is a very, very dark purple ink. It is not really a black ink. So I'm going to go get my hands de-purpled and get some food, and I will see y'all hopefully tomorrow, because I'm going to do this again, because I still have a ton of glass that I have to take out of boxes. So yeah, well, my hand matches my hair now. Bye!